Junpei didn't know what to make of what he saw.
What?
Door 3, 7, and 8. Interesting. He simply stood, unable to speak. The others simply stared, open-mouthed. After a few long moments, Santa managed to speak.
What the hell is this? This place is huge.
Hmm. A massive room stretched out in front of them. More a cavern than a room. Its vastness was oppressive, and it bore down on the four companions. It was not empty, however. The entire room was filled with lines upon lines of beds.
Oh, there are beds everywhere.
They were simple things, little more than pipe and thin mattresses.
Is is this a hospital?
He had at last been able to put a name to the harsh scent that pervaded the room.
It definitely has the smell.
Could be. I see medicine cabinets and surgical tools. Hey, look there. The 4 doors at the end.
The three of them were emblazoned with large single-digit numbers, made with thick red paint.
The left door says 3. The second door is blank, but the third has a 7. And the rightmost door is 8. There's no doubt, they're numbered doors. Why is the second door blank? That seems kind of strange, don't you think? No point worrying about it right now. Let's see if these will open first.
Yes, that sounds like a good plan.
Junpei headed toward the doors, weaving his way between the beds. He started with door 3 on the left, and moved to the right until he reached door 8.
Oh, it's no use.
Well, of course. If it was that easy to open these doors, what would be the point of the Nonary game? We have to activate the red, or the numbered doors won't... Wait a minute.
What's wrong?
We don't have enough people to open any of these doors.
Look, the display on the red. There's nothing on it.
Huh?
Don't you remember? The red at the central staircase? If no one was inside, it said vacant.
Oh yeah, you're right.
But this one...
There's nothing on it.
Right?
I wonder if it's broken. Only one way to find out. It's not responding.
Huh. All four took turns placing their hands over the red, but it refused to respond. They pulled at the lever, and still it did nothing. As they soon discovered, it wasn't only the red for door 8 that was behaving strangely.
How about the red on door 7? And door 3?
None of them are working.
What does it mean? I knew it. They're broken. Zero sure sucks at maintenance.
No, that's impossible. You really think Zero, who prepared all of this, would make such a stupid, simple mistake?
Maybe, but that doesn't explain why this thing ain't working.
It was at that moment that they heard a voice from behind them.
I believe the bottom of the device has been removed.
They spun around to see...
Snake!
Snake! But it was more than just Snake.
Ace! Clover! 7!
Although they were glad to see one another, it wasn't terribly surprising that they had. If it had been the other party who'd opened the gate in front of the kitchen, it wasn't unreasonable that they'd bump into one another eventually. The rest of Snake's team, however, did look rather surprised.
How?
How did you end up here?
That's my line?
Hmm?
Perhaps we should exchange information.
After a moment of silence and surprise, everyone suddenly began to talk, desperate to exchange information. They talked about the rooms they'd been through, and how they'd ended up in the same place. Of course, none of it was very useful information, but that hardly mattered. They were happy to simply see one another again. Although the level of cheer varied greatly from person to person, each one of them was wearing some manner of a smile. Almost as though they had already forgotten about the death of the 9th man. No, thought Junpei. Perhaps that wasn't it. Perhaps thoughts of his death were what drove them to smile at one another. Not in a morbid or hateful way, no. The 9th man had died. But they were still alive, and that was something to be happy about. Sort of simple, uncomplicated joy, Junpei thought. The joy of being alive. Still alive. He felt sorry for the 9th man, but more than anything, Junpei was just happy to be alive.
There you have it. Our half of the story.
His part finished, Ace fell silent. For a moment, Junpei was silent, in thought. Then he spoke.
Okay, let me see if I got all this straight. When you guys got here, the bases for the Reds were already gone.
And you looked all over this room, but you couldn't find anything.
So you figured that there might be something in the hallway with all the doors.
So you went and had a look?
Yeah.
And while you were looking around, you heard voices.
Uh-huh. So you followed the voices and came back here.
Indeed. And that was how we found you.
Why don't we check those 3 Reds again, just in case?
You're right. Huh. There's a long, thin gap on the bottom. I think it's a slot for something. Probably electronic.
A battery?
Well, this isn't good. If the red is inactive, we can't keep going.
Well, what about that hallway over there? Isn't there anywhere else we can go?
No, there isn't. There are plenty more hospital rooms, but nothing else.
Hospital rooms. That's what's behind all those doors?
Yes. There are a number of individual rooms in addition to this large one.
There was a door at the end of the hallway, but it was locked.
There was an astrological symbol engraved near the keyhole, however. I was able to get a good feel of it. I believe it was the symbol of Jupiter.
Not again. Those goddamn things are everywhere.
I wonder what they all mean.
For a moment, everyone was silent, deep in thought.
While we're asking what things mean, what's the deal with this room? I mean, I thought this was a cruise ship, but I can't imagine a cruise ship would have a hospital like this.
Of all people, it was Seven who answered, and with calm confidence.
Well, I figure it's probably a hospital ship. Chances are it's the Gigantic.
The what now?
The Gigantic?
Junpei looked confused. So did everyone else.
What is this gigantic?
Seven knit his brows for a moment, and then began to explain.
The Gigantic. She was a sister ship to the Titanic, built in the early 20th century. Actually, the Titanic had two sister ships, and they looked exactly the same. The Gigantic was said to be one of them. They intended to make her a passenger liner like the Titanic, but World War I began soon after the ship launched. The British Navy took her over and made her a hospital ship. At some point during the war, the Gigantic was damaged by a German mine in the Aegean Sea. She ran aground afterwards, so she didn't end up sunk. What happened to her after that? One theory going around is that a man named Lord Gourdane bought her.
Lord Gourdane.
Seemed like he'd been one of the few to survive the Titanic sinking. That trauma turned him into some kind of obsessive collector of all things related to the Titanic. Soon enough, the guy wanted the Titanic itself. Which was impossible, of course. It's stuck at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. But the Gigantic wasn't. And seeing as she was identical...
Now, if I can't have you, I'll just have your twin sister instead.
So you're saying this Lord Gourdane bought this ship?
Yeah, at least I think I am.
That's impossible. No way we're in some boat that's almost 100 years old.
Pipe down, just pay attention. What, that's it? Well, have you got any proof?
Proof?
Proof that this ship is really the Gigantic.
Well, this ship's got stuff that's like the Titanic and a hospital ship. So, I just figured...
Oh, for goodness. Don't tell me that's your only reason.
I mean, it's good deduction, Lotus. What's your problem? It's good deduction.
No, I've got more.
Like?
Well, I mean...
Seven looked around desperately, doing anything to avoid meeting Lotus's piercing stare. He scratched his head for a moment and then gave up. Finally, he opened his mouth.
I don't know.
Lotus sighed and shook her head.
I guess your memory isn't back yet, is it?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Hey, whoa, wait a minute. Memory isn't back?
Junpei was, he felt, legitimately shocked by what seemed to be new and very important information. Oh. Hold on. Damn it. How do I pull up the How do I pull up the... There we go. Everyone else, however, seemed unimpressed. In fact, they all looked at Junpei as though he had said something very strange.
Yeah.
Your point being?
He decided to revise his attitude for the next question.
Wait, was I the only one that didn't know?
Everyone nodded.
Why?
Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't tell you, huh? I told the rest of them before we ran into you on the stairs. I told them I couldn't remember a damn thing from before I woke up.
What?
Then, almost as if to save Junpei from further embarrassment, dong, dong, a bell began to ring from far away.
Oh, a bell.
It sounds like the clock in the main stairway.
Junpei counted each chime carefully.
10, 11, 12. Huh, 12.
It's midnight.
It's midnight.
We've got 6 hours to get off this hunk of scrap.
Then we've still got 6 hours left, right?
We don't have any time to screw around. Let's get going. We gotta find the missing parts for the Reds.
What do you mean, find? How on earth do you propose we do that?
We've looked everywhere in this room. That only leaves one place to look.
One?
Well, not just one.
That's not what he said at all. The line of text on the screen is different from the line the actor actually says. What? Well, I guess that's not really right.
Wait. Don't tell me you mean we need to search all of the other rooms.
Don't freak out. We've already searched 4 of them.
4 rooms?
We just have to split up the rest between the 8 of us. If each of us can do 6 rooms apiece, we'll have the other 48 rooms cleared in no time.
Okay, sure. Just have incorrect text on the screen, sure.
There are 48 other rooms?
Her earlier experiences had apparently not encouraged Lotus to trust Seven. Seven scratched his head awkwardly.
Maybe?
All right, so everyone knows which area they're searching?
Yeah.
Yes!
Junpei was chosen to search the rooms on the starboard side, moving from fore to aft.
We'll all meet up when the clock goes off again. How about in that room with all the beds?
Yeah, sounds straightforward enough.
I'll shout if I find any of the components we need.
I hope we can find them within the time limit.
If we can't, then we'll just have to come up with another plan.
Right. Then let's do this.
The details decided they left to begin searching. Out into the hallway they went, each to the rooms they'd been assigned. However, from far away, Junpei heard the bell ring. Are we good? Hold on. Seems good to you? Okay. PC seemed like it was having a bit of a hiccup, so I wasn't sure. But, good. The wind is doing... Yeah, I'm actually thinking of finishing this part of the stream up soon, just so we don't lose any content to the wind, to be honest. From far away, Junpei heard the bell ring. It did so only once. It was 1 a.m.
It's 1. I better get back to the others.
He jogged through the entrance of the large hospital room to find 6 of the others already there.
Huh?
Huh? Ace, Santa, Clover, June, Seven, and Lotus. They had gathered in front of the door number 8. In front of the? Sorry, I'm the one putting words in now that don't belong. They had gathered in front of door number 8. Or perhaps, to be accurate, they had gathered in front of the red next to door number 8.
What are they doing over there?
Had one of them found the missing piece?
What happened, guys?
It was June who answered him.
Jumpy, look!
She was pointing at the red. He pushed through the others until he stood in front of it. Immediately he knew what she had meant.
Vacant.
Junpei sighed.
Come on, guys. Who was it? I thought we were supposed to yell if we found it.
Well...
Junpei wondered why she was hesitating. The others looked as confused as June, but kept their mouths shut.
What the hell? What is up with you guys?
And they all knew something he didn't, and Junpei wasn't about to leave things that way. Finally, Lotus frowned and spoke.
Well, that's the thing. We don't know.
You don't know?
When I got back, it was already like this. There was no one else here. That means I was the first one back, but the missing parts were already back in the red.
What? Let me see.
Junpei looked at the bottom of the red again, just to make sure. The slot that had been open on the bottom was now covered with metal.
You're right. It's in there. What about the other 2?
They're the same.
Spooky.
Let me take a look.
Junpei quickly examined the other 2 boxes.
It's just as you said.
Satisfied that they were also repaired, but still very confused, he returned to the others.
Alright, I just want to be sure here. Nobody has any idea what the hell happened here, right?
Correct.
None.
Ace and June nodded silently. Seven raised his hands as if to say, "Not me," and Santa just shrugged. Clover? Clover, what's wrong with your hands? Only Clover lowered her head and did nothing.
Huh. Wait a minute.
That was when he noticed.
Where's Snake?
Junpei swept his eyes across the room a second time. But Snake was nowhere to be seen.
Does that mean that he found them?
I've no idea. There's nothing to suggest it, but nothing to suggest he didn't either.
I don't suppose we'll know until we can ask him in person.
Well, whatever he did or didn't do, he's pretty damn late. What the hell is he up to?
Maybe he's lost.
Yeah, well, that seems likely. Dude can't see. I don't know how he gets around in the first place.
Clover raised her head.
No! That's impossible!
Oh, she angry. Suddenly, she was shouting.
Yeah, my brother's blind, but he's got really great hearing. He can get around as well as anyone who can see.
Clover, right now I'm concerned about the index finger on your on your left hand. Were you Yakuza? Did you have to give something up when you left the family? Because A, that's the wrong finger, and B, what the frick?
So he couldn't get lost. That's impossible.
Clover had started to shake, and the knuckles of her hands had gone white. Clover. Clover. Yeah. Yeah. She spun around, but before she did, Junpei noticed tears welling up in her eyes.
I'm gonna go look for him.
Okay, TK. You mind bringing back Patamon while you're at it? The words were barely out of her mouth when she began to run.
Hey, hold on, Clover. Wait!
Junpei cried out to her, but he was too slow. She kept going, and before anybody else could react, she was gone.
Well, that didn't work.
Oh no! Wait! Oh well, I tried.
Damn it. What should we do now?
Well, the red is working now.
No! We're not leaving two people behind! We should go look for them!
Oh man, this ain't good.
Oh, yes, what an excellent idea. We just wasted a bunch of time looking for some piece of electronic junk. Now let's waste some more by looking for a couple of idiots.
Then remain here if you feel you must, but there's no time. We've only 5 hours left.
Junpei and the others nodded to one another and took off at a run. In front of the stairs that led to B deck, they decided to split up.
Let's split up.
All right, I'll take this direction.
Then I shall look that way.
I'll be over here.
Let's see you all later.
Soon, only two of them were left. Those two were Junpei and June, who had been a few steps behind the others.
All right, we should go too.
Yes, let's go! But where should we start?
Let's see.
I guess we just go in order, right?
How about the casino on B deck?
Okay, let's go, Jumpy.
They took off up the stairs at a run. Before they knew it, they were there. So was Lotus. She was leaning against the wall, examining her nails.
Hey, what do you think you're doing?
She glanced up at him, unimpressed.
Isn't it obvious? I'm looking for
Are you?
I'm just not seeing it.
Really? Maybe you need to look harder.
I don't think that's the problem.
Oh, by the way, I've got a proposal for you two. Care to hear it?
Sure.
What is it?
Well, I don't like to beat around the bush, so I'll get right to it. Why don't we team up?
Team up?
Yeah. What? You need me to explain it to you? I'm saying, why don't we go through a numbered door?
Even if we wanted to, that's impossible.
Why?
Junpei's bracelet number is 5, mine is 6, and yours is 8. Our digital root would be 1.
Yep. 5, 6 plus 8 is 19. 9 plus 1 is 10. 1 plus 0 is 1.
But there's no number 1 door in the large hospital room. The only doors there are 3, 7, and 8.
So we take 7 and go through door 8.
Then we add another person.
Huh?
Who?
What? Isn't that easy?
Yep.
7.
Oh, if we add 7, 5 plus 6 plus 8 plus 7...
Just add the
that's
7 to the
26.
1, Junpei.
The digital root of 26, 2 plus 6 equals 8.
Then the 4 of them could go through the number 8 door. But...
Wait a minute. What about the other 4? Ace, Snake, Santa, and Clover.
Well, why don't you add them up?
that was simple enough.
1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4
They're
equals
stuck.
10.
That's what happens, yeah.
And 1 plus 0 equals 1. The digital root for those 4 would be 1.
That's right.
And even if they somehow still had the 9th man's bracelet, it would not matter. Because 1 plus 9 is 10.
And you know the number 1 door isn't in the big hospital room, right?
Of course I know that.
No! Are you saying you'd leave them behind?
Of course not. What kind of woman do you think I am? Once we get off the ship, we could come back and rescue them, couldn't we? Then we wouldn't really be leaving them
How would
behind.
you plan to rescue them on a ship that's due to sink in 5 hours? Just throwing that one out there.
Don't try to lie to us. I don't think you do anything of the sort.
Really? Why do you think that?
You remember, don't you? We have less than 5 hours left. Even if we manage to escape, there's no way we could come back to rescue them in less than 5 hours.
Well, you never know until you try.
No, you're not thinking this through. Even if we brought 7 with us, we wouldn't be able to get off the ship. The 4 of us couldn't open door 9. It is hidden, but an exit can be found.
Good boy, Junpei.
Seek a way out. Seek a door that carries a 9.
Good boy, Junpei.
Yeah, that's right. The digital root for the 4 of us would be 8, so we'd have to add Ace to make 9.
That's right. Unless we bring Ace too, we'll be stuck.
Lotus scratched the back of her ear.
Oh. Well, that's unfortunate.
Unfortunate. That's all you have to say?
She didn't sound particularly bothered by what Junpei said. Nor did she seem particularly surprised.
Well, let's try and find another way, okay? A way to get out of here with all 8 of us.
That's impossible. Are you being serious? And you do know that only 5 people, at most, can go through one of the numbered doors, right? The number 9 isn't going to be an exception to that rule. Regardless, at least 3 people will get left behind.
Huh?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
The moment he said it, Junpei felt a chill run down his spine.
No. Wait just a second. You're skipping over a really big detail.
Yes, what she said was true, but how Lotus could remain cavalier about so terrifying a prospect was beyond him.
Is that really okay? That means 3 people will die in the end. Are you okay with that? That's just...
Lotus's forehead furrowed.
Do you think I could have a moment alone? There's some things I need to think about.
Junpei and June turned and began walking away from Lotus.
That didn't turn out to be a very pleasant conversation.
Oh, no, it did not.
Yeah.
Junpei's heart felt heavy, and his steps sluggish. But he told himself, pessimism would get them nowhere.
Well, regardless.
So he forced himself to smile and turned to June.
Let's just focus on finding Snake for now, okay?
Yes, you're right. We can think about those other things later.
Yeah.
Junpei nodded.
All right. Where should we go next?
First class cabin.
Let's go take a look at the first class cabin. It's really close.
They turned around and took off down the hallway to their left. Outside of the first class cabin, they found Clover. She was standing in front of the wall. She was staring at a meaningless point on the wall, her eyes blank. What should Junpei do? Talk to her?
Are you alright?
He did his best to sound friendly, but Clover didn't respond.
Look, I know you're really worried, but...
He could think of no words to say that didn't sound hollow and fake. Junpei hesitated. Clover was so consumed by worry and fear that Junpei feared it would crush her. Her actions didn't surprise him. She had suddenly lost her brother, who she seemed to have been very close to.
Alone.
Her voice was thin and barely audible.
Alone.
Hmm?
Alone. I said leave me alone!
Suddenly she was screaming.
You're so annoying! Just go away and leave me alone! Just looking at you guys is pissing me off! Go away, okay? Just go somewhere else! Stop bothering me!
Okay then. Junpei was taken aback. Such anger and hate. June's eyes had gone wide with surprise as well.
Why are you still here? Didn't you hear me? Huh? Fine, forget it. If you aren't gonna leave, then I'll just...
Alright, let's go, June.
Yeah.
They turned and left Clover. As they did, Junpei glanced back over his shoulder to see Clover wiping tears from her face. Hey, Yura. Hello. Clover had driven home the misery of their situation. But Junpei told himself that getting depressed would get him nowhere but depressed.
We really need to find Snake, for Clover's sake.
He did his best to push away the misery and depression, and forced a smile.
So, where do you think we should go next?
The hallway with all the rooms?
Hey, why don't we go back to C-Deck? We can take a look at that hallway with all the rooms.
Okay, let's get going then.
Together, they ran down the stairs.
Oh, it's Ace.
Ahead of them, farther down the hallway, they spotted Ace.
Hey, Snake! Where are you?
At least he's searching. Unlike Lotus, who just, was as helpful as a bag of rocks.
Answer me if you're there!
What should Junpei do? Run to Ace?
Let's go.
With June in tow, Junpei jogged up to Ace. Hearing their footsteps, he turned to greet them.
Ah, hello there.
General Ace.
Snake is... well, that's obvious, isn't it? I assume you haven't found him yet?
Yeah, doesn't seem like you're having any luck either.
I really wonder where he could have gone.
Well, wherever he's disappeared to, we must find him as quickly as we can. For Clover's sake.
Right.
You no, don't get blushy crushy for the old man. June's face looked kinda enraptured.
By the way, do you think Clover and Snake are really siblings?
Why would you say that?
Why would you say that? The question seems somehow odd to Junpei.
Why? Well, it's obvious, isn't it? They don't look alike at all.
Maybe they're step-siblings. Ace looked at him for a moment, and then spoke.
Yes, you know, now that you mention it, they don't.
Now that you mention it?
Still, there are a great many siblings who do not look like one another. It certainly isn't rare.
The way June is looking at us right now, I'm like, what have we done? Junpei wasn't sure why, or even if he was seeing what he thought he was, but he could have sworn that Ace's face tightened as he spoke.
At any rate, we really must find Snake as soon as possible. The clock is ticking. We really can't afford to waste any time. Very well. Let's get back to the search, shall we?
I guess so.
You can leave this area to me.
All right. Let's go, Junpei.
At June's urging, they left. They found themselves back at the stairs, but Junpei's mind was in turmoil.
Something about that was... I'll think on it later. Like Ace said, finding Snake is our top priority.
Junpei did his best to clear his mind.
All right, where should we go next?
Back to the large hospital room, I guess.
Why don't we go back to the big hospital room?
Okay, let's go then.
They turned and headed back toward the large hospital room.
Hey, wait, that's...
On their way to the large hospital room, Junpei and June noticed Santa, standing next to the number 3 door.
Santa?
Junpei paused. Talk to him. Junpei and June walked up to Santa.
What are you doing?
What? You can't tell? I'm checking out the red.
Why? Is there something bothering you?
What? It's not bothering you?
Huh?
The guts of this red. Why wouldn't you wonder who the hell put it back in here?
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm curious too, but...
Who do you think did it?
Santa's eyes narrowed as he looked at June. She shook her head.
I don't know.
Well, what about you, Junpei? Who do you think fixed this thing for us?
Well, we've already deduced that Zero isn't on the ship. Certainly wasn't Lotus, Snake has gone missing, so how would he? So someone else.
Maybe there's someone else on this ship with us.
You mean someone hiding here?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just an idea.
And you're saying this mystery person fixed the Reds?
Yeah,
Why?
that's, I don't know.
Santa shoved his hands into his pockets and cracked his knuckles.
Seems unlikely.
Why?
I don't know. Just a feeling. Hard to believe Zero'd bring in a secret 10th player.
Danganronpa shade, hello. Mukuro intensifies, huh?
I mean, the name of the game is the Nonary Game, for Christ's sake. You know what Nonary means, right? It means 9.
No, that's not what I meant. I mean more like someone who's been living here for a long time. Or someone who, like, stayed here.
Seriously? That's even more ridiculous. Why do you think Zero would leave them alone?
Junpei furrowed his brow.
So, in other words, one of us is the person who fixed the red.
Santa grinned.
Bingo! We have a winner.
But if that's true, then the person who did it doesn't want the rest of us to know that they fixed it.
Yeah.
But why?
No idea. Maybe if they come clean on that, it means we'd find out something else. Something bad.
Something bad?
Dunno. But whatever it is, it's gotta be worth hiding. Of course, it could have something to do with Snake's disappearance.
You think maybe they did something to Snake?
Yeah.
Junpei stared at Santa. There was something about him that made Junpei wary. At first, he'd assumed the other man wasn't terribly clever. But Junpei was beginning to think he would need to reevaluate that assessment. When Santa spoke again, his voice was quiet.
Look, if you trust anybody in this game, you're gonna lose. You've gotta be careful. The person you trust the most could turn out to be the one who stabs you in the back.
With that depressing suggestion, he turned and quietly walked away.
And that's that, I guess.
Junpei and June looked at one another and smiled awkwardly. Hey June, you're not gonna stab us in the back, right? Finish searching. We've been everywhere. They looked everywhere they could think of, but Snake was nowhere to be found.
Snake hasn't been anywhere we've searched.
Lotus looked around at 6 frustrated faces and spoke.
And we can't keep looking for him. Wherever he is, it's not here. We need to get moving.
Junpei couldn't disagree with what she was saying. Snake seemed to have completely disappeared. There was no point to wasting any more time. The others seemed to be having similar thoughts, but they stayed silent. Finally, 7 spoke.
We don't got a choice. Lotus is right. We're not gonna find Snake. There's a problem, though. We've got to figure out who's gonna go through which door.
Yes, I have a proposal.
She walked back and forth across the floor, her heels clicking against the wood. Finally, she stopped.
Why don't we decide on one person to sacrifice?
Huh?
Sacrifice?
Well, perhaps that's a bit of a harsh word, but yes. You've all figured it out by now, haven't you? We can't all make it through those doors. If we split into 2 teams of 4 and 3 people respectively, then 3 people will be left behind. If we split into 2 teams of 5 and 2 people respectively, then 2 people will be left behind. But if we split into 2 groups of 3 and leave 1 person out, then only 1 person will be left behind.
Leaving behind 3 people with 2 teams of 4 and 3? Oof. Yikes. Yeah, I don't know about that, Lotus. Junpei wasn't quite sure that was true.
Wait a minute.
Hmm?
2 people get left behind if we split into 5 and 2. And 1 person is left behind if we split into 3, 3, and 1.
But we can't split into 3. Oh, well, 1 person gets left behind if we... Yeah, 3, 3, and 1. That's 7 people. Snake is 8.
I got that part. You can't go through the numbered doors with any less than 3 people. But if we split into 4 and 3, then why do 3 people have to be left behind?
Just run the numbers. Let's say we go through door 7 with 1, 4, 5, 6. Who's left over?
That would be 3, 7, 8.
What's the digital root for that?
9.
3 plus 7 plus 8 is 18, so add 1 and 8, 9.
Exactly. But door 9 isn't here, right? That means 3, 7, 8 won't be going anywhere.
Okay.
That was just an example, of course. There are a lot of different combinations, but the result will always be the same. It doesn't matter which 4 it is. The 3 that are left over can't go through any of the doors. Go ahead and calculate it if you have the time. You'll see. Anyway, that's how it is. Now, if we can get back to my proposal. We only have to sacrifice 1 person if we split into 3, 3, and 1.
When 7 spoke, his voice was strained.
Then you're saying we gotta decide who's gonna stay behind.
Yes, we do. Given our circumstances, it's logically and morally the best solution. If the other 6 are to survive, then 1 person has to sacrifice themselves.
No, that's too cruel!
What's so cruel about it?
To just sacrifice someone like that?
Are we at least sacrificing them for a bigger monster? I mean... Oh, wait. Oh, wait, no, they don't call it sacrifice anymore in that game, do they? It's tribute.
Then what's your plan? Maybe we should sacrifice 2 people instead of just 1.
That's not what I meant! We shouldn't sacrifice anyone!
I told you, that's impossible. Wake up.
Whoa, whoa, calm down, you 2.
Santa stepped between Lotus and June.
Look, what Lotus is trying to say is, you should aim to bring the greatest amount of happiness to the greatest amount of people, right?
Exactly. That's how democracy works. And for that reason, I think the only fair way to decide who will be sacrificed is through a vote. What do you think?
No! That's terrible!
I'm not asking you. Shut up.
So much for democracy.
What about you, Santa?
Me? Well, I agree, I guess.
All right, that's 1 vote for. Counting mine, that's 2. 7.
I can't say I agree with you, but we don't exactly have a choice. If we don't do something, we're all gonna die.
Oh, glad to see you get it. If I can get 1 more vote, then it's decided. What about you, Clover?
Clover had moved away from the group and was sitting on one of the beds. Her whole body dropped. drooped. Junpei didn't know if she'd even heard Lotus's proposal.
Hey, Clover.
Lotus walked over to Clover and gently laid a hand on her shoulder.
Your brother has to be behind one of the numbered doors. We've searched everywhere, but we didn't find him. Doesn't that mean he has to have gone through one of them somehow?
Clover slowly lifted her face.
Let's go look for him together, okay? If we sacrifice one person, then we can go look for him.
Democracy, huh?
You agree with me, right?
Okay.
Clover nodded once.
The motion carries.
What a bitch! Lotus spun around and walked toward Junpei.
Now, let's start a vote to...
That won't be necessary.
Ace had barely spoken for Lotus's entire speech, and everyone jumped a little. 6 pairs of eyes turned to look at him. He didn't seem to notice or even care.
I will stay. That should solve our problem, yes?
Ace, what are you saying? No, you can't do that. That won't solve anything.
I mean, he's got the lowest bracelet number. Law of averages says it probably will. June's voice shook, and she looked around desperately for someone to agree with her. Ace simply looked at her.
June, I'm afraid you may have misunderstood me. I said I would stay, but I never said I would sacrifice myself.
Huh?
I trust you, each and every one of you. I believe you'll come back for me.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. There's optimistic, and then there's just nuts. Those doors only go one way. You go in, you don't come out.
I don't know, that blank door is looking like a return.
If we go through them.
You won't be able to return, correct?
Yeah.
True, but that will not be the case once you've escaped from the ship.
What?
Please, I beg you. Once you've escaped, come back and rescue me. Ideally, within the time limit Zero has given us.
No, that's ridiculous. There's no way we could get back in time.
Finally, Junpei could hold his tongue no longer.
We've only got 5 hours
Yeah,
left.
not really. You had 5 hours left an hour ago.
We don't even know where the hell we are. How on earth are we gonna find someone to come and rescue you?
Then, perhaps you would prefer to stay instead of me? Or perhaps you would be willing to leave June behind?
Ace's voice was dignified and without a hint of cruelty or malice. Junpei had no rebuttal.
You see, there's no other choice. Then I see we've come to our conclusion. Go on. Don't worry yourselves about me. Go, quickly.
Junpei stood frozen by indecision, unable to move. June bit her lip so hard that Junpei feared she would break the skin. Santa stood against the wall, calm and aloof. Seven tore his beanie from his head and turned it over anxiously in his hands. Only Clover stared at Ace with an expression Junpei was unable to decipher. Lotus's attitude, however, was different from the others.
Good. Let's accept his kind offer then.
She smiled, her eyes bright. Ace answered with a smile of his own.
Good. I think this is the best for me.
They're both sus. I mean, look at Ace's happy face. Like, it looks incredibly suspicious. Lotus is no better. She is just the cat that got the cream right now.
Perhaps I'll be able to take a nap. It may be my age, but I get tired so easily these days.
As he spoke, Ace lowered himself to the floor next to one of the beds. From somewhere deep in the ship, Junpei suddenly heard the screeching of metal on metal. It was almost as if the ship were screaming. Would it really hold until their time limit was up? Already, D-Deck was flooded. In the sudden silence, the only sound was the sad metal wail of the ship. Unsurprisingly, it was Lotus who spoke first.
Well, what are you waiting for? We're wasting time. Why don't we hurry it up?
As if a spell had been broken, the others all began to talk all at once. Sorry. As if a spell had been broken, the others all began to talk at once.
You're right. We should get going. That's all we can do right now.
7.
Seriously. Honestly, I was getting kind of sick of listening to you guys talk.
You too, Santa? I have to find my brother. Wait, all of you. Let's just calm down and think about this. There has to be a way to get everyone out. There has to be. Right, Junpei? Say something.
Yeah, let's think. There's gotta be another way.
His words sounded hollow and fake.
Fine! Forget about it! I'll figure it out on my own.
She spun around and ran toward Ace. He had slumped down next to the bed when June grabbed his arm and pulled.
Ace! Come on, Ace. Please stand up. You can't give up yet. We just have to sit down together and think about this. We'll figure out a way that we can all get out of here.
And then it happened. Uh-oh. Ace fell forward. He slumped over onto the wooden floor, his body folded in half like a boxer out cold.
Ace!
June cried out and dropped to her knees beside him. She put her arm around his neck and did her best to lift him up.
What happened? Ace, say something!
She shook him frantically. His eyes fluttered open.
I'm all right.
His voice was weak and slightly slurred.
How are you all right?
Found a couple of beers in one of the rooms. Decided to help myself.
This.
He held out his left arm and slowly opened his hand.
A syringe?
Soparil. In it was a syringe and a small vial. The vial was empty. It had only recently been emptied. A few drops clung to the sides. There was a label taped to the side of the container. It read, Soparil Beta. Soparil Beta?
Soparil Beta. What does this do? Did you use this?
Yes. It's just anesthetic. I'll be fine.
Anesthetic?
I found it earlier. While we were searching the hospital rooms. I thought it might be useful later. I didn't think I'd be using it on myself.
Why did you do this?
Didn't I tell you? I'd like to take a nap. I really am very tired.
Junpei knew that wasn't why he'd done it. Ace had injected himself with anesthetic to forestall Junpei and June's attempts to bring him along. If he couldn't move, there was nothing they could do. He'd injected himself so that they would be forced to leave him behind.
Ace.
Hmm? Is there something you want to say? I just like to sleep a little. Could you keep it down?
No, don't, Ace. Don't fall asleep.
Ah, you feel warm. So comfortable.
Ugh.
I think I'll have a nice dream.
Ugh. Ugh. Ace's eyelids drooped further and further, almost as though he were dying.
Ace! Ace!
She shook his shoulder again and again, but this time he didn't respond. Only the gentle rising and falling of his chest told them he was alive. Junpei was relieved to see he was, in fact, still breathing.
Let's get him up on a bed.
He lifted Ace up off the floor and laid him on the bed he'd been leaning against. When Junpei turned around, Lotus gave him a look of pity.
Well, we really don't have a choice now. We can't let his sacrifice go to waste, right?
Stop calling it that!
Like you even mean that.
You say something?
No, nothing.
It felt wrong, but he had to agree. Then suddenly, Santa spoke.
Yeah, but we're not done choosing yet, are we?
So who's going through which door?
Huh? What do you mean?
Well, we haven't decided who's going in what door.
Ah, yes. Yes, that's true.
Enough of this screwing around. Let's decide. You first, Lotus. Which door do you want?
I want door number 8. It's the same number as my bracelet number.
Got it. You're 8. You're next, 7. Which one do you want?
I'll take 7. I can't get along with that old lady.
Jesus.
What? What did you just say?
His face distorted by... Her face distorted by rage, Lotus took a step toward 7. He threw up his hands and made a face like a child caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
Who, me? I didn't say nothing.
Oh, you're gonna get it next time.
She shot him a glare that would have melted steel, then turned and stalked off.
All right, who's next?
Santa's gaze moved across the 3 people. The 3 people left. Finally, they stopped on Junpei.
Junpei, which door do you want?
At last, Junpei's mind was already made up. Oh. So... They said you're 8. That was funnier in my head. Ah. Look at Yura being included in the banter. Oh god. You know what? think I'm okay with going through door 8 as well. Because if that's the room, if this is the room I think it is.
I think I'm gonna go with door 8.
Okay, 8 it is.
Yeah.
All right then. That means June's got to go through 7.
What? Why?
What?
Santa grimaced and muttered angrily to himself, but finally began to explain, because that's how numbers work.
If the 6 of us are gonna keep going without leaving anyone behind, there are only 3 ways we can do it.
Plan A.
Have 3, 5, and 8 go through 7, and 4, 6, and 7 go through 8.
Plan B.
4, 5, and 7 go through 7, and 3, 6, and 8 go through 8.
Plan C.
Or 3, 6, and 7 go through 7, and 4, 5, and 8 get 8.
Let's go with Plan C, because I think I know what's coming there.
There are no other combinations. In other words, 3 and 4 and 7 and 8 can never go through the same doors. You get it now?
As Santa finished, June looked over at Junpei, tears welling up at the corners of her eyes.
Oh no.
Oh no, we'll be separated for like an hour.
You're saying we aren't gonna see each other again for a long time.
Junpei felt just as June did. He wanted to be at her side through whatever trials they were preparing to face. But he knew if they were to survive, he had to swallow his feelings. In order for the 6 of them to move forward, he and June had to be separated. He looked at June. No. He looked at June. He was scared to lose her, but he swallowed, steeled his resolve, and did his best to smile.
Hey, come on. You're making it sound like we're never gonna see each other again. We gotta split up, but only for a while. This is just like when we went into the 4 and 5 doors, remember? We got split up then too, but we all met back up. I'll bet 7 and 8 are just like that.
You mean they're connected somewhere?
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
She didn't sound very hopeful. It was 7 that interjected.
I'm sure they're gonna connect somewhere.
Why? What makes you think so?
If they don't, then neither team can get through door 9. In other words, the game would end right here. Zero's been on top of his shit so far. I don't think he'd blow it now. I'm damn sure that son of a bitch wants to have his fun as long as possible. He's not gonna end this game until we get through the 9 door.
Or, until the ship sinks, but whatever. June said nothing. The tears were gone, but her eyes were still sad as they looked at Junpei. He met them, and with what reassurance he could manage, laid his hand gently on her shoulder.
Everything's gonna be fine. We're gonna see each other again. I promise.
June bit her lip and gave him an almost imperceptible nod.
Yes. Promise?
Her voice was barely above a whisper. Santa's voice shattered the moment.
You guys are done, right?
Prick. He stretched and continued.
Anyway, that's pretty much it. Clover and I will both go into separate groups. I figure I'll take 7 and Clover can take 8. Any problems with that, Clover?
Clover looked away and was silent for a moment.
Whatever.
It was more of a dismissal than an agreement, but Santa didn't seem to care.
Alright, we're ready to go then.
And that is where we'll save for today. We will go through door 8 later on in the week, when we come back to this. Honestly thought we might have hit one of the endings today, but no. Very good progress. I mean, like, nearly 3 hours worth of progress, so I can't complain. You know, and all the mysteries are still lingering, like, what's with the Soparil? Where is Snake? Who tampered with the Reds? You know, all the mysteries are still kind of lingering, so it's a good spot to come back to. So what I want to do now, before we actually wrap up the stream,